size, aesthetics, and proportionality. These are the pillars that define a high-level bodybuilding physique. Each of these factors directly impacts an athlete's body composition, but what's interesting is that not everyone can master all of these areas at once. Some focus more on size, striving for maximum muscle volume, while others dedicate themselves to symmetry and aesthetics, creating perfect and harmonious lines. However, there are very few bodybuilders who can truly combine all these characteristics in one package. When that happens, the athlete reaches what we call God level, a physique so perfect that it shakes the very foundations of the bodybuilding world. Today, we're going to talk about 5 bodybuilders who shocked the world with the excellence of their physiques, displaying an impressive combination of strength, beauty, and balance. Stick around until the end to find out who these true titans are. But before we begin, I need your help to keep this channel active and to continue bringing you content like this. If you enjoy my work, consider becoming a channel member. It's a form of support that won't break the bank, but it makes all the difference in helping me continue producing high-quality videos for you. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. YouTube recognizes this content as relevant, and together we can reach even more people. Plus, I'm aiming to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I'm counting on your help to reach that goal. Let's go on this journey together. And to kick off our list of bodybuilders who shocked the world, we begin with none other than Dorian Yates, a name that became synonymous with revolution in the sport. Born in the UK, Dorian Yates redefined what it meant to be a bodybuilder in the 1990s. His impact was so profound that many consider him the one responsible for ushering in a new era in bodybuilding, the era of the monsters. From 1992 to 1997, Yates claimed 6 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles. But what truly stunned the world was the physique he brought to the stage in 1993. It was in that year that he raised the competition standards to levels never before seen, showcasing a combination of size, definition, and muscle density that seemed unattainable. Dorian Yates' physique in 1993 was nothing short of terrifying. He appeared at Mr. Olympia with a monstrous amount of muscle mass, far surpassing any other competitor at the time. His body looked chiseled from stone, with incredibly dense muscles and such precise definition that every fiber seemed to pop under his skin. And that skin? So thin and stretched that it made his muscles look even larger and more impressive. None of his competitors stood a chance against him that year, and the bodybuilding world was left in awe of the level of physical development Yates presented. He didn't just win. He completely dominated the competition, leaving all others in his shadow. One of the most impressive areas of Dorian Yates' physique was always his legs. In 1993, his legs looked like they belonged to another species. His quadriceps, enormous and incredibly detailed, were among the most impressive in bodybuilding history. Every muscle, every insertion was visible. His calves were equally massive, giving him a solid and powerful base that left everyone who saw him live in complete amazement. It's no exaggeration to say that his legs were on another level, a level that most bodybuilders can only dream of reaching. With this colossal physique, he helped popularize the term God level, a reference to athletes who seem to have been sculpted by the gods. But Dorian Yates wasn't just about legs. His upper body was also phenomenal. One of his most famous poses was the side triceps, where his massive arms looked otherworldly. The sheer volume of his triceps was so great that it formed a perfect horseshoe, a rare achievement in bodybuilding. His arms in general, with impressive volume and sharp definition, made Yates a feared competitor in any category. However, what truly made Yates a legend was the combination of all these elements with his back, which many consider one of the best in the sport's history. His back was wide, dense, and had a depth that few athletes have ever matched. It was as if he carried a wall of muscle, and when revealed, it left both the audience and judges speechless. Yates is often remembered as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time because of this unique combination of raw power and aesthetic symmetry. He didn't just bring more muscle mass to the stage. He redefined what was possible in terms of proportion and conditioning. His era at Mr. Olympia marked the beginning of the pursuit of ever larger and more impressive physiques, and he pioneered this radical shift in the sport. It's also worth mentioning that Yates achieved all of this while dealing with significant injuries throughout his career. Even so, he continued to push boundaries and present physiques that seemed impossible for most athletes. His fellow competitors, who were already considered giants, simply couldn't keep up with the pace set by Dorian. He made history as a true muscle machine, a beast whose 1993 physique is still referenced when talking about the greatest of all time. Many believe that he was the one responsible for paving the way for the monster era in bodybuilding, where the focus shifted even more toward extreme size. Yates was undoubtedly a game changer, an athlete whose presence on stage forever reshaped the global bodybuilding landscape. His physique, determination, and mindset transformed him into a true legend, and the 1993 Mr. Olympia will always be remembered as the moment Dorian Yates solidified his name as one of the greatest to ever compete. Moving on to the second name on our list, we have former IFBB professional bodybuilder Marcus Rule. The journey of this giant in the world of bodybuilding is a true roller coaster. It all started with a knee injury that ended up changing his life forever. Who would have thought that an injury could kickstart one of the most insane careers in bodybuilding? That's right. After recovering, Marcus decided to take bodybuilding seriously, and the result of that decision was a career marked by unbelievable physiques and jaw-dropping performances. Throughout his career, he competed in the Mr. Olympia no less than 7 times, though he never claimed the title. However, that didn't stop Marcus from becoming a legend in the sport. In 2002, Marcus Rule shocked the bodybuilding world when he appeared at the Night of Champions, an event that forever marked his career. That night, he presented himself as the true freak of freaks, and it wasn't just because of the event's spectacular lighting that his physique appeared even more impressive. Marcus was absolutely shredded and monstrously huge, as if he had stepped straight out of a comic book. Imagine Venom, the famous Spider-Man villain. Now, imagine that character in real life. That's how many described Marcus Rule at that show. His body was so surreal that it seemed like it had been designed for a superhero movie, and the comparison with Venom makes perfect sense. He really looked like a comic book villain come to life, with superhuman muscles and an overwhelming presence. Without a doubt, this was the most monstrous physique Marcus ever presented in his career. With his insane volume and out-of-this-world conditioning, he completely dominated the stage and left the audience in a state of shock. With every pose, the details of his muscles jumped out at you, and there was no doubt that he was one of the most impressive bodybuilders of his era. His combination of extreme muscle mass and definition made him a true force of nature. Rule was known for his ability to build a colossal physique with wide shoulders, enormous arms, and an absolutely massive torso. And he didn't stop there. Another highlight of Marcus Rule's career was his performance at the 2004 Mr. Olympia, where he secured 5th place. Even though he didn't reach the top of the podium, Marcus was in incredible shape for that competition. His physique was so voluminous and dense that he looked more like a wall of muscle than a mere athlete. His presence on stage was impossible to ignore, and his performance at that Mr. Olympia is still remembered by fans to this day. Marcus may not have won the Mr. Olympia, but he certainly left his mark on the sport with a physique that seemed to defy all the laws of nature. Marcus Rule was one of the most iconic bodybuilders of the so-called monster era, where muscle size was taken to the extreme. His ability to gain muscle mass without compromising definition made him a legend. Even though he never took home the Mr. Olympia title, his career was filled with unforgettable moments, like his Night of Champions performance and his showing at the 2004 Mr. Olympia. Marcus remains a prime example of how far dedication and effort can take an athlete, and his legacy in bodybuilding is undeniable. And next on our list is none other than Ronnie Coleman, the king of bodybuilding. When you earn the nickname King, it's because you've done something truly extraordinary, and Ronnie Coleman certainly did. Throughout his career, Coleman racked up achievements and broke records that few could have imagined. His greatest feat? Winning the most prestigious competition in bodybuilding, Mr. Olympia, no less than 8 consecutive times. This places him in a select group of athletes who managed to reach the pinnacle of the sport for such an extended period. However, it was in 2003 that we witnessed the peak of Ronnie Coleman, when he brought to the stage a physique many consider unbeatable. In 2003, Ronnie Coleman showed up bigger and more impressive than ever. He presented himself as a true monster, weighing 131 kilograms, around 288 pounds, of pure muscle, leaving the bodybuilding community in shock. His combination of size and muscle conditioning was something nearly impossible to surpass. That year, Coleman reached such an absurd level of physical development that many believe no other bodybuilder, whether from the past or present, could have defeated this version of Big Ronnie. While it wasn't his most aesthetic form, the sheer amount of muscle and the level of definition he brought to the stage made him almost unbeatable. Ronnie Coleman's back was particularly legendary. With unmatched width and density, his back looked like a mountain of muscle. The lower back, glutes, and hamstrings were ridiculously striated, with every muscle fiber visible under his skin, which was as thin as paper. This extreme definition, combined with his colossal size, made Ronnie a true anatomical work of art in motion. He looked like a human anatomy map, where every muscular detail was perfectly sculpted and visible. Seeing Ronnie Coleman on stage in 2003 was like witnessing an alien. So overwhelming was his physical presence. Even with all that muscle mass, Ronnie maintained insane definition, something that few could achieve. He was the perfect combination of monstrous size and otherworldly conditioning. And it wasn't just his physique that was impressive. His strength was legendary as well. Coleman was known for his brutal training sessions and insane weights, lifting loads that defied logic. This immense strength was part of what made him so dominant throughout his career. In 2003, everyone knew that Ronnie would be practically impossible to beat, and of course, he wasn't. No one on that stage could compete with that monster. Ronnie Coleman's impact on bodybuilding was so massive that he became an inspiration even beyond the sport. In fact, he served as the basis for the creation of a character in a famous anime called Super Alloy Darkshine. His image, strength, and presence were so impressive that they transcended bodybuilding and became a symbol of physical power in various forms of media. Ronnie Coleman is undoubtedly a living legend of the sport, a man who redefined what it means to be a bodybuilder. And the 2003 Mr. Olympia will forever be remembered as the moment Ronnie Coleman presented the most monstrous physique ever seen in the history of bodybuilding. And in fourth place on our list, we have American professional bodybuilder Jay Cutler. In the world of bodybuilding, there are many debates about who was the best, Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler. The mere fact of being compared to the king makes it clear that Jay is among the greatest of all time. Cutler claimed the Mr. Olympia title 4 times, an achievement that few athletes managed to accomplish. He won his first title in 2006, but his journey in the sport was marked by highs and lows. In 2008, Jay lost the title to Dexter Jackson, but that was far from the end for him. The following year, in 2009, Jay Cutler made a spectacular comeback, delivering what many consider his best performance ever, reclaiming the Mr. Olympia trophy. This comeback was historic because it was the first time in bodybuilding history that an athlete regained the Mr. Olympia title after losing it. In 2009, Jay Cutler showed up in his best physical condition to date. His back, known for being incredibly dense and wide, was even more impressive that night. It was as if every muscle detail had been sculpted to perfection. He not only returned to dominate the stage, but also brought a renewed confidence, which was evident in every pose he struck. His physique was absolutely flawless, and both the judges and the audience were blown away by his transformation. One of Jay Cutler's trademarks is his iconic quad stomp pose, where he stomps his foot on the ground, showcasing his massive quadriceps. This pose became one of his signatures and is often associated with his name. Although other bodybuilders perform this pose as well, no one does it with the same precision and visual impact as Jay. The quad stomp is so iconic that for many, it's the first image that comes to mind when talking about Cutler. This pose is a perfect example of how he could display the grandeur of his physique in a way that few could match. It was at the 2009 Mr. Olympia that this pose became truly legendary. During his performance, Jay Cutler executed the pose so memorably that the image was etched into bodybuilding history. In that moment, the audience could clearly see how incredible his physique was, and that single shot of the quad stomp came to symbolize Jay's excellence in the sport. His legs, in particular, were so well developed that they seemed sculpted to perfection, with every muscle, fiber, and details standing out. That 2009 presentation was not only the peak of his career, but also a moment that defined his legacy in bodybuilding. Jay Cutler wasn't just a great bodybuilder. He was an athlete who defined an era. His rivalry with Ronnie Coleman and his triumphant return in 2009 cemented his place among the giants of the sport. Beyond his impressive Mr. Olympia titles, Jay was always known for his hard work, determination, and ethics. He showed that even in the face of defeat, it's possible to come back even stronger. And with that, he inspired a legion of fans and new athletes to pursue their goals in bodybuilding. And to close out our list, we have American professional bodybuilder Phil Heath, one of the greatest names in the history of the sport. Throughout his journey, Phil won no less than 7 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles from 2011 to 2017, securing his place among the elite of the bodybuilding world. His first victory came in 2011, when he defeated the legendary Jay Cutler in a competition that left all the sports fans in awe. That year, Phil brought an insane physique to the stage, with a level of conditioning and muscle definition that simply couldn't be ignored. It was the year when practically everyone agreed Phil Heath deserved the title, and he was destined to dominate the sport for years to come. In 2011, Phil Heath displayed deep muscle cuts and separation between muscles that seemed impossible to achieve. It was as if his body was in high definition, with every detail perfectly visible. What made Phil stand out even more were his 3D-looking muscles, something no other bodybuilder in the world seemed to have. This feature earned him the nickname The Gift for his blessed genetics, which allowed him to develop incredibly full and round muscles. Phil's conditioning in 2011 brought back the level of quality from the 90s, combining impeccable aesthetic proportions with musculature that seemed to pop out from his skin. Whether viewed from the front or the back, Phil Heath was a spectacle. His back was impressive, with a density and width that made it look like he was carrying a true shield of muscle. His arms, shoulders, and chest were absolutely massive, while his legs displayed deep and detailed cuts. The separation between his muscles was so sharp that it looked hand-drawn. He was in his best shape that year, and many consider this version of Phil Heath one of the most incredible in Mr. Olympia history. His ability to present a physique with such muscular perfection made him a true legend in the sport. In 2011, Phil Heath didn't just win, he shocked the bodybuilding world. His muscle separations were beyond anything we had seen up until that point. It was an incredible spectacle, and that physique became one of the fans' favorites in bodybuilding. It's no wonder Phil dominated Mr. Olympia for so many consecutive years, solidifying his name among the greatest of all time. His physique, with 3D muscles and impeccable aesthetics, was something that redefined the sport standards. And with that, we've reached the end of our list of 5 bodybuilders who shocked the world. Now, I want to know your opinion. What did you think of these legendary physiques? Do you think any other athlete can reach this level in the coming years? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. And of course, don't forget to leave a like and share the video with your friends. It really helps with the channel's visibility and motivates me to keep bringing more quality content for you. Oh, and I'm aiming to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'm counting on your help. Let's do this.